Hello, my dear children. Welcome to the ICT class. In this syllabus, we have Part A and Part B. In Part A, let's start with the first lesson, and the lesson name is Communication Skills. Children, why should we learn about communication skills? Because good communication skills are the key to success. In this session, we should understand what is communication and different types of communication, and what are all the facts that plays an important role in communication. Now, let us understand what is communication. Communication is an art of transmitting information, ideas, and attitude from one person to another. Communication is the process of meaningful interaction among human beings. The best idea or suggestions or plans cannot take form without communication. For example, you are going to do an event, but you cannot do it alone. To make the event a successful one, you need the help of your friends or parents. What you will do then? So, you will communicate with them to share your ideas, plans about the event. Then they will understand it and make it a successful one. So, how can you communicate with other people? There are many types of communications. Verbal communication, non-verbal communication, written communication, and visual communication. Let us understand different types of communication. Verbal. Verbal communication takes place face to face and in telephone. How can you communicate through telephone? You can communicate in telephone with other person by using voice. So in verbal communication, you can use your voice to communicate with other person. Whereas non-verbal communication, it uses body language, gestures. It includes handshaking, waving, etc. Written communication. Sometimes we get the information through books, magazines, and also through email. So those kind of communications are written communication. Fourth one, visualization. While presenting some informations, people can use graphs, charts, and also maps to present their idea in an attractive way. So those kind of communications are visual communication or visualization. You should understand how you have to communicate information to another person while using different types of communications. In verbal communication, you have to use a strong, confident speaking voice. Children understand when you have to convey some information, you should be confident and you should be strong in that. Your voice can tell them how confident you are in your work. Use active listening. We should be a good listener in any conversation. When we listen them properly, then only we can talk confidently. Avoid filler words. Be on point. Don't use a lot of filler words. Whereas in non-verbal communication, here people can notice how your emotions feel physically. Be intentional about your non-verbal communication. Mimic non-verbal communications you find effective. That means imagine that you are in a place where you have to be silent, but you have to convey some information to other people without talking. So in that case, use effective actions that other person can able to understand what you are going to convey. Visual communication. Ask others before including visuals. Consider your audience. Only use visuals if they add value. Make them clear and easy to understand. That means you should concentrate on what kind of images, graphs or videos you are showing to people. Can they understand? Is it necessary to your presentation? And also you should consider the age group. Next one, written communication. How to communicate through written communication? Strive for simplicity. Use simple words that other people can understand it easily. Don't rely on tone. Take time to review your written communications. Keep a file of writing you find effective or enjoyable. You have to check twice before sending a mail. The important thing in written communication is The people who is reading your letter or email should understand what you are going to convey. Use effective words. Before starting the matter, type hi, hello, and in the end you can use thank you, have a great day, like that. All types of communication have some advantages and disadvantages. Advantages of verbal communication. While you are communicating through your voice, you can understand and the clarity will be there and transparency will be there. And you can also get immediate feedback. It helps for better relationships, time saving, effective tool for motivation, effective tool for group communication, economical, and it allows to measure effectiveness immediately. When you are face to face and you are talking through your voice, you can get immediate feedback. It's the only way out during an emergency. It also has some disadvantages. Lack of retention or documentation. Distortion in passing the message. Distortion means misrepresentation or biased answers. And there will be no legal validity. Sometimes it leads to possibility of misunderstanding. Unsuitable for long messages. It is constrained by physical barriers. Not effective when the target group is spread out. Suppose you want to convey the information to the whole group, but all the group members are not in the same place. Then the verbal communication is not that effective. Advantages of non-verbal communication. You can communicate with someone who is hard of hearing. Some people have difficulties in hearing, so you can convey information through actions. You can communicate at place where you are supposed to maintain silence. You can communicate something which you don't want others to hear or listen to. That means to maintain secrecy. You can communicate if you are far away from a person, the person can see but not hear you. Nonverbal communication makes conversation short and brief. Nonverbal communication also have some disadvantages. We cannot have long conversations. Difficult to discuss the particulars of the message sometimes. Difficult to understand and requires a lot of repetitions. Cannot be used as a public tool for communication. That means it is not a professional way of communication. Less influential and cannot be used everywhere. Not everybody prefers to communicate through nonverbal communications. It cannot create an impression upon people or listeners. Third one, written communication. Advantages of written communications are: it creates a permanent record, allows you to store information for future reference also, and it can be easily copied and distributed to many people. All recipients receive the same information. Written communication helps in laying down apparent principles, policies, and rules for running of an organization. It is a permanent means of communication, thus it is useful where record maintenance is required. Well, written communication also have some disadvantages. Let's look into it. Lack of secrecy. Time consuming and expensive sometimes. Meaningless to illiterate. When a person is not able to read and write, then the written communication is meaningless. And the delayed feedback. You have to wait for a long time to get the feedback from the receiver. Fourth one, visual communication. This kind of communication also have some advantages and disadvantages. The pictures, graphs you have used in your presentation can show trend and comparisons. Disadvantages. Some people may not understand pictorial form of representation. And it takes lot of time to prepare graphs and images. So in this session, we have understood what is communication, different types of communications, how the communication should be, and some advantages and disadvantages of those. Hope you have understood. Take care, children.